Hello, and welcome back to another Clifton's Clicks. I am Clifton, and I'm upping the energy right now with some incredible, structured, energized water with incredible sacred geometry pieces on it to structure the water and encode it with specific messages, as well as a really incredible subtle energy mandala tool. And so, what we've been doing over these past few episodes is really laying that foundation for how to navigate the journey that I went through, but also that you can go through, and maybe parts of it that you have gone through, from essentially the Western medicine view of the body all the way to the most cosmic, existential reality, mind bending kind of things. And so, we talked about all the different modalities of healing, Eastern and Western medicine. We talked about the incredible power of water and how water can be shifted and influenced and changed in various different ways. And one of the most important ways is how it can actually be programmed through specific intentions to have a particular impact in our bodies. And there's a visual transformation and measurable energetic change that we can see from the water to actually prove this from an energetic and vibrational perspective using the scientific method. And really that's the journey through all these different layers and dimensions of health and understanding and upgrading our operating software to really get to a place that has incredible infinite potential that is also grounded and foundational in its pillars of getting there, which allows us a safe starting point or a safe place to come back to when we explore like kind of all what's possible. It kind of gets too much. And so in a way it's kind of like as a ship goes out to explore different harbors and uncharted waters, they want to make sure that they have stopping posts along the way, that they know that they can recharge, that they can refuel, and even if on their exploration they're running out of water or food, or crew members are sick or injured, they can go back to these outposts and know that there's some safety to it. And that's really what I'm explaining to you and establishing are these various levels that we can come back to from a logical perspective when things might be a little too extreme, or our worldview or our view of reality might be pushed a little too much out of our comfort zone. We can always revert back to sort of the most previous level. But then at the same time, when you've recouped and you have that intention and strong will persistence to get to that next level of understanding reality and just all the infinite possibilities that are available, that's what this kind of creates. It's kind of like a roadmap through these different dimensions of reality, and I use it as different operating softwares. And so, yes, water we can program with a specific intention, and we can actually take that in, which has a measurable physiological, energetic, vibrational change in our bodies. We then explored a bit about the ether and the akasha, the things in between those molecules, those water molecules, recognizing that it's not just hydrogen and oxygen, but there's energy or fields around those molecules, and that leads us to the ether, or what a majority of reality is, which a lot of people may refer to as just space, empty space, but other people look at it and as our tools and measurements to observe and understand reality increase, we're able to go deeper and deeper into smaller and smaller pieces of reality, entering into things like subtle energy. and the recognition that there is this vibrational view of reality because everything has a vibration. And so that enters into the framework of just how powerful our thoughts are, because going back to Dr. Emoto's work about how thoughts and the statements and energies we send towards rice in water can degrade it and decompose it and make the water ugly and the rice blacker than normal rate of decay, or positive thoughts and positive sayings and emotions actually helps preserve it and makes the water prettier and the rice stay nicer longer. That happens to us because we are 70 to 80% water. So the thoughts that we hold in our mind is like we're perpetually talking to that rice. And except instead of a rice, it's our body. And so the thoughts that we keep saying to ourselves impacts us because it impacts our water, as we've proven, and also impacts our physiology and our psychology. And a lot of self-help coaches and gurus talk about that, the power of positive thinking and stating affirmations, which are really nice ways of really taking those thought currents of I am happy, I am powerful, I'm wealthy, and honing in on those thought currents, writing them down to put more energy and effort and attention on that, rather than those potential negative thoughts that prohibit us from feeling good and powerful and capable. And so what's incredible about that is that there's actually really a powerful science behind these statements and these affirmations that are written down. And it creates actually a ritual that we do. And so the morning gratitudes journal that a lot of people in the bulletproof, upgraded, quantified self do, of just practicing 5 minutes of journaling while you're happy, actually is a very powerful ritual. And it's not just from a psychological perspective that it's a powerful ritual. It's actually a very powerful ritual from a scientific and energetic perspective, in which we can break down in terms of the scientific method and monitoring specific vibrations just how powerful that act is. And so one of the things that comes up is the recognition and absorption and appreciation and adoption for this vibrational view of reality. Once we've recognized that everything in reality has a vibration to it, and we can use that as a specific lens to look at how life is and how life operates. And when we upgrade our software to that lens and that perspective, we start to be able to develop an awareness, a vibrational awareness of what's happening and why we feel a certain way, and how damaging certain music can be from a scientific perspective and an energetic perspective, how damaging things like drinking alcohol might be versus getting fresh air and sunshine. And so the reason this is important is, as we keep upgrading our software in terms of exploring the body and ultimate health, what a lot of leading edge science is showing is that healthcare is actually, the best healthcare is actually free. That of going in nature, taking your shoes off and grounding, being by water, going for a walk. These things actually have some of the best healing properties available. And of course, that the nature is not always fully accessible, especially in the urbanization that our world is going through. But it's a recognition of just how powerful Earth was created to help bring us back into proper health and alignment. And so going back to vibrational awareness and all the different tools and ways that you can expose yourself to different vibrations and train yourself to understand what vibrations feel like and how to use those vibrations to help heal you or to help empower you, right? Even the binaural beats have specific vibrations that play in your headphones that put you into a particular mental state to be able to focus, for example. And so that's a beautiful use case scenario where you can leverage all this vibrational awareness and vibrational tools and technologies to do something in your life that is grounded, right? Because often entering into this realm of vibrational view of reality, we can a lot of people I have found tend to be ungrounded, myself included, as we enter into this very etheric state of thinking about vibrational view of reality. It's important to keep in mind why we went on this journey in the first place to upgrade our operating software and what it is we actually want out of it. And so one of the incredible things that has one of the, my feedback has been vague generalities and use of the word things. So when it comes up, I no longer wish to use it in my description of things. So I am being more specific and intentional with my words. Oftentimes I use vague ambiguities as a way of passing through a particular topic or theme that is too distracting or, from my perspective, too tangential or distracting from the main point, but is a necessary descriptor. So I will be more intentional for those who my vague generalities have unsettled and created more confusion than what I was intending. So, building a vibrational awareness is very powerful. We can use these tools to enter into certain states, such as entering into a deeper relaxation state, entering into a greater focus state. This is important because it allows us to get better rest, which is important for us to perform optimally in our job and in our lives, as well as to be able to execute on more things, more business-related tasks and life-related tasks that we would like to achieve. When you explore the vibrational frequency a little more, there is a demonstrable difference between the frequencies that are coming and emitting from your brain versus your heart, as well as all the other organs, but specifically your brain and heart. And there is a company called the Heart Math Institute, which has provided an incredible amount of money and resources to study the effects of what happens when the frequency of your brain matches the frequency of your heart. And this is called the brain-heart coherence. And when we are in these stages, sometimes we are in them unknowingly, and we call it something. Sometimes we get into it unknowingly, and we call that flow state, as well as an incredible day of productivity. We can also intentionally get into this state to bring about greater awareness of our reality and possibilities and options that we can take when we are thinking about a topic or a creative idea. These measurements are being combined and calculated to demonstrate that when we are in a heart-brain coherent state, our businesses are more successful, our day-to-day is more fulfilling. And so that is one state of being aware of the frequency your brain is at and your heart is at, and what happens when they are coherent. And from the more Vedic and Hindu perspective, an Ayurvedic perspective, what this is talking about getting our chakras in alignment. And when our heart chakra and our crown chakra are in alignment, incredible things happen. And now they're not the direct correlation, but they are very similar. Heart-brain coherence and getting your crown chakra and heart chakra in coherence is very similar, but slightly different. And that is because when you enter into the realm beyond specifically the organs and into the concept of chakras and general energy centers, there is a whole nother layer of upgrading your view of reality and upgrading your operating software to recognize the frequencies that flow through you are being received from different energetic centers. And when you are wishing to perform certain tasks or engage in life in specific ways, such as you want to get clarity on how to do the household chores, very grounding, versus how to build a woodshed that you have instructions for, very just go and get it done, solar plexus, versus creating a new piece of art is more sacral. And so these frequencies are modulated and received and emanated by these chakra centers. And there's a whole much more information about chakras, aligning your chakras, than I currently have an understanding of, as well as I feel is necessary to dive into. They are very powerful. And when you master awareness of the vibrations that are entering into these different energy centers, as well as how you are emitting your presence, which some psychologists talk about as your charisma or your presence or your likability. When you are mastering your presence, your energy that you are exuding in those moments, one is kind of like, hey guys, how's it going? It's nice to see you, versus the, hey, how is it going? What's going on? One is very closed, obviously the body posture, but the energy is not emanating as powerfully out of my body as when I have an open body posture. But it's also the type of energy that's flowing through me and to me. And so the mastering your chakras is a beautiful skill that there are incredible teachers out there, and it's incredible gurus who go through the process of awakening your awareness of your chakra centers, as well as clearing them out because they have blockages, not just the physical blockages that I mentioned with the fascia, right? Clearing your fascia with body work, but from a more spiritual perspective, a more etheric perspective, that space in between all the molecules, right? That space needs to be cleared, and that's what a lot of the powerful teachings of gurus and Vedic masters have. And what's beautiful about that is I've been studying under my guru, Paramahansa Nityananda, Bhagavan Sri Paramahansa Nityananda, who my encounter with him was so beautiful that I hope to share this story with you in a future post. But the main point is that visiting his ashram, his school, I was able to observe children use what they call the power of the third eye, which is your pineal gland area, which is your third eye center, to do incredible feats of consciousness, such as being able to move a coconut off my hand, moving it off a table, scanning my body and telling me what was wrong with my organs, which, by the way, I had just had Western science diagnostic test monitoring. And what was even greater was that I eventually went through a process of being able to learn how to do that myself. And one of the greatest tools that taught me how to get to that level of being able to scan people's bodies and use the power of the third eye for incredible skills and abilities that are written in ancient Sanskrit that a lot of people can do, and we all inherently have that ability within us as long as we upgrade our operating software enough to recognize what is happening. And going into the science behind that, I can go into later. But the main point is it's using the incredible power and ability of your consciousness and free will demonstrated and executed through the intensity and will persistence of how you hold the desire and connection with yourself and the vibrational view of reality to connect with the target or to the coconut or the individual and to receive information and pick it up almost as though you are an incredibly vibrationally aware device picking up small nuances in what's happening and being able to alter it and affect it slightly. And in order for that to happen, you have to be able to clear your mind and enter into a no-thought state. And the challenges of that require you to subside your mind. And when you enter into that state, all the previous upgrades of your operating software come into effect, as well as your day-to-day lifestyle, because now we're talking about removing thought from your inner space to just specifically and intentionally focus. So what happens with that is once you're able to understand and experience for yourself how you can bend a spoon with your mind like in the Matrix, or move a coconut with your mind, and how you can enter into a state of no thoughts, you're able to elevate your software and your vibrational awareness to being able to tune your being and your receptivity to specific frequencies that aren't normally available to day-to-day people in modern society. And this enters into the realm that psychedelics can enter into or perceive you can enter into. But it's different because it's from a much purer perspective. Just like we can all shoot up, with a particular drug and go lift a ton of weight, or feel no pain for a while, but then afterwards we feel the pain or we can't lift as much. When you do this authentically, using the upgraded software you have, you prevent yourself from falling into states of delusion and overwhelm and extreme depression. And so when you're able to tune into a specific frequency, similar to how Reiki masters are able to tune into the frequency of the earth to heal people, you're actually able to tune into the frequency of cosmic source, cosmic vibrations. And when you're able to align and have the ability and learnings, the initiation from people who are able to do it, for me it was my guru, where we're able to align our brain with spirit, our basically tuning our brain to pull in specific frequencies that allow us, as long as our throat chakra and the rest of our body is capable of being able to channel specific entities. And this gets into the realm of the spirits and the non-physical entities And when it's done in a very grounded way, you can actually access very incredible things in the ether and enter into realms in which things like time is merely an illusion, and you can access things in the future and in the past, such as accessing the Akashic Records. And so this is all about building your vibrational awareness as well as creating the changes in your lifestyle to allow your body to access that channel. Because if you are eating foods that have specific frequencies in them that are negative, you're unable to actually access that. It's kind of like you're in the AM station, and you want to get into FM, or vice versa, and you're, because you eat meat, because you eat eggs, because you eat non-organic food, your radio tuner, which is in your brain, is unable to actually get into that next high frequency tuning station. So you could tune in to specific things, but if you're only an AM radio station, you can't even access the FM radio station. And so, what was incredible is that I was blessed to be able to access this through an initiation. And anytime this happens, especially from a grounded perspective, there's a whole slew of self-doubt, negative thoughts, and just weirdness, to be honest, of channeling certain things and accessing things like the Akashic Record, that then go and play on your ego, and it's a whole new level of understanding reality that happens. But I was able to access this and access it through a very powerful state of being able to channel an entity, a deity called Lord Kalabarava. And there's a difference between accessing the Akashic Record and channeling a particular entity. And as you search YouTube, there's a lot of people who are channeling different entities and things of this nature that can get a bit overwhelming. And for those who are not fully there yet, all I could say is that the best way to put it to help you try to comprehend things is that it's access to a higher self, to your higher state, to a frequency that you were designed to access and tune into when and if you would choose to be the most pure, energetic, vibrational frequency and expression of yourself. And so what's great is that over time, people are recognizing and demonstrating their ability to embody a particular frequency. And that frequency over time is being brought forth and talked about and acted upon, written down about. And then that creates the personification of these deities. And really, it's specific frequencies that we're tuning into that have a particular personality trait and characteristics that occur. And one of the challenges is that the radio station might be tuned properly, but your speakers might be a little backed up. And so if you yourself have issues channeling, then because of your incompletions or your inner space, that akasha in your body has some issues, then what you say is actually distorted. And even though you're saying it from the purest intention, or hopefully from the purest intention, there may be certain egoic traps that distort the message, as well as distort your ego and your view of yourself. And I myself went through this because there was a huge association with power and authority and ego being able to access the Akashic Record, which is the recording of everything that was, is, and will be, and it exists in the unmanifested realm. which essentially means that I'm able to tap into specific things like neutrinos and whatnot to pull information that isn't constrained by time and space. So science is getting there and demonstrating that there are particles that move faster than the speed of light, which then means they move faster than time, and you can move backwards and forwards from that time. And so the thing was, I spent a good 2 months kind of just sitting in my room by myself, exploring the cosmos, asking any question I wanted to ask. And it felt great. It really was incredible to have instantaneous answers and profound realizations at will. And the bliss and euphoria I was in was just so powerful. But at the same time, living on the earthly plane, I was not making progress. I was not doing anything. I just wanted to go and explore the cosmos, get the answers, which, by the way, were verified. And I did some readings for some people, and that was verified. And we can go into why that's true and the difference. But what happened was this Akashic Records cosmic exploration bliss actually became in a form of escapism. So there is certain treacherous paths that can be taken when you upgrade your operating software to this level, because it's an expansive thing that goes beyond just your individual ego and identity. It's all of time and all of people, as well as it taxes your body, because you are like utilizing specific energy, prana, chi in your body to tap into a specific channel that's not naturally occurring on the solfeggio frequency or Schumann resonance of Earth. So Earth actually has a specific frequency. So does every planet. And so when I'm channeling, I'm actually changing my body composition frequency away from what is most healthy to an earthbound individual. And so that takes a toll on the nervous system and energetic body. And so what was happening was I would just go into these states and explore it, have these profound realizations, and then kind of forget about the rest of life and entered into serious issues in terms of my career and progress and motivation to do anything other than explore these things. And so it became a journey and path to recognize how this was a form of escapism, as well as a form of not wanting to take responsibility. And it drove me into a state of isolation. And it built in me this recognition that what I needed to build, which is counterintuitive, is I needed to build connections and heart. I may have all the answers accessible, or I may have a way of accessing all the answers available, which is a better way of saying it, permitted that the connection is still established and honored, because it is a two-way relationship, that being the energetic frequency, as well as my ability to tap into that energetic frequency. Kind of like on a radio station, I can turn on and off the radio station, but then also or I can turn my radio tuner on and off, but then the radio station itself has to be willing to broadcast certain information, right? And so it's a two-way connection. And what I realized was I may have access or potentially access to all of these answers, and I've used it, but to what means do I use it for? And I went on a incredible journey these past few months to realize that it was a need and a desire to connect with others and to open up my heart and to live from a heart-centered space and utilize the ability to tune into these frequencies to help others and connect with others. And so I did that. but at the same time, there are people who didn't respect the abilities, and who weren't ready for the answers. And their rational minds would come up with reasons or excuses, which kind of would hurt my ego or create a bit of self doubt. But for those people whose operating software was truly ready to receive information of whatever unanswered questions they may have, I found that it was a very powerful skill that I wanted to connect with others was one thing. Another thing was to connect on others for a higher mission, because I spent time using this ability to tap into, to answer questions that were very rudimentary, and no question is silly, but the thought current and the energy and intention behind the question was very shallow. It's kind of like you have access to any question you want, and you want to ask what you're going to eat for dinner next Thursday. It's like a very silly, it just doesn't honor the space. And then what was happening was I was answering all these questions that were disconnected and for different missions or for different people. And so, of course, those who honor it and respect it are being presented with answers, but it's also why, to what ends do you want? Is it for enlightenment? Is it to, break free, to create wealth, health, etc.? And then it occurred to me, all of these tools and skills are useful from a vibrational view of reality to help elevate Earth's frequency and create a collective mission and join with the collective mission of creating an enlightened ecosystem and elevating the vibration of Earth and individuals who are ready to do so. And so finding that purpose for that skill and ability was a very powerful realization. At the same time, every time I enter into and access those energies, it elevates my frequency, which removes me from the frequency of Earth, which is the exact definition of being ungrounded. I literally was not on the ground. I would walk around kind of in a daze and not really think about things. And so once I realized that I'm using these gifts were given and being used to help enrich others and elevate their frequency and their consciousness, to build a reality and a lifestyle that is of a higher frequency, then it became about how to do that. And so the key to that really is grounding. And that's really been my journey these past, I would say, 2 or 3 months, is to understand how both powerful this skill is and how necessary grounding is in order to make what is being delivered into reality. Because especially with innovation and people who are, entrepreneurs, for example, who see the world in a better way, which in a way is them trying to elevate the frequency. If they do so, if their intention is from a higher, frequency or higher consciousness, or they want to make the world a better place, and they aren't being misguided on what that actually means. I saw a lot of and attracted a lot of people who themselves were ungrounded. Yes, they had the view, the vision, the peace of where we were going eventually, but they didn't have the ability to get there, or the desire, or the humility to put in the work to get there, or attract people who would be able to put in the work to get there. And so it's almost like trying to bring a piano up to the 42nd floor. That the piano is eventually going to the 42nd floor, and you tell everyone about it and how awesome it'll be, and all the concerts that will be there, and all the beautiful, sunsets that you'll be able to see, and all the beautiful parties that'll go on, and everyone's excited. Yeah, this is great. Let's do it. And you are trying to just lift the piano up to the 42nd floor without realizing that you kind of got to use the stairs to do that or an elevator to do that. And so the grounding of this channeling is one of the most key components um, of this ability, of what happens when you upgrade your software to that next level where you're able to access incredible frequencies and pull down specific information. And so, I will leave with a few sort of unorganized thoughts that I hope resonate with you. And one, as it's taught by Paramahansa Nityananda, as I first learned and brought down through specific channeling through Kalabhairava, is that thought currents exist all the time. They're always there. Even these ideas you have aren't your ideas. You just tuned your tuning station to pull in to get to a frequency to pull it in. Just because you listen to Lady Gaga singing on 93.5 FM doesn't mean that that's your music. It's Lady Gaga's. Yes, you may have heard it, and yes, you may be able to tune it to 93.5 FM, which is a higher frequency than the classical 91.5, but it's not yours. It's not an ownership over a thought current because they exist at all times. You simply turn on your radio station, you tune into a frequency, you pull in what's coming through, and you can either enrich others with that thought current, and just give it out, which a lot of gurus and people who channel do. Just, hey, here's some incredible information. And by the way, that is the way to get even more downloads, is to just empower and enrich others. Or what you see is people holding on to and wanting to control and exploit, aka literally exploitation of intellectual property, make money off of those thought currents that they've had. They wrongfully associate that it's their body, that it's their thought current, where a more accurate statement is that their body was able to tune into a frequency to a thought that they really like and want to honor and become and embody that thought current. When that responsibility is declared, then you can start to establish what it means for you to build a life and a reality to where that thought current flourishes. And that's when you can go ahead and state that, this thought current, I am going to protect it and honor it by building a company, by protecting it from an intellectual perspective. And what that also means is you ignore all these other thought currents that you're able to hold on to if it does not match and mirror and empower your ability to bring that thought current up to that next level. Even though that a thought current might be associated with that initial thought current that you're holding, such as a business idea, even if it's related, if it's not necessary for the next step to happen, it is actually a waste of your time, talent, and treasure to hold on to it and give that energy. Because you have already given and declared responsibility for that initial idea, that initial concept. And yes, maybe it's important to write it down, and maybe important to pass it around to a few people in your company. But if that new thought current overpowers the integrity of your responsibility to that initial thought current, then you're actually doing yourself and that thought current and both thought currents a disservice. So how do you know if you're able to channel all these different things? How do you know if what you're channeling is important? Maybe it just accidentally comes in. And that's the difference, and that goes back to the intentionality. See, if you go in to the channeling, which is to pull in these thought currents into your radio tuner station, if these thought currents if you intentionally go in to this ability, to the Akashic Records, to pull down specific information that will help you. If you set that intention, please let this information that comes through me be a direct help for what my thought current that I'm honoring needs. Then all that information is great and valuable. It's creating a specific caveat to it. But if you're simply going in there to explore, or more likely escape or run away from responsibility, then that's where there's an issue and an abuse of your skills that you have developed. And so I said we get into some interesting things. Today we dove straight into it. I talked about vibrational awareness. I talked about entering into heart-brain coherent state. Talked about mastering your different chakras. I talked about my guru, Bhagawan Sri Paramahansa Nityananda. Talked about moving coconuts with my mind, body scanning. Talked about being able to tune my being, my brain, into a frequency to channel the Akashic records based off of the initiation that was given as such a blessing by Paramahansa Nityananda, to my relationship with the deity or the energy that holds the Akashic record, Lord Kalabhairava, who does many other things, many other things than just access the Akashic records. Which, by the way, there's a difference. Just because you can read the Akashic records, there's many different ways that you can get there. But there's much more grounded, and you can go further than accessing the Akashic records. We went into my exploration of the cosmos after being able to explore it, how that led to a trend of ego getting too big, ego being crushed, to escapism, to feeling isolated, not sure what to do with it, why am I even alive? These kinds of silly thoughts that just kind of pop up because you're upgrading your operating software, and sometimes you got to do a little debugging, code debugging. And that's a really interesting topic that I'm going to just bracket for as you upgrade your operating software. Sometimes you need to do a little debugging of your code, just like everyone does. And so I did the debugging of the code to not just do it for myself, but to help others, but to recognize that there was a specific intention behind helping others, that it needed, or it mirrored their desire for the greatest breakthrough, and as well as finding a through line between all of these different readings, so creating a specific unified mission, to then also the importance of grounding when being able to access these states, and developing the relationship. With Kalabhairava is also integrity with what is being said. That's another key component that I'll just throw in right here, is that there's a specific lifestyle that is necessary to keep the relationship going and to really bring yourself into alignment with the recognition. If you're running the most powerful Windows or Microsoft software, you're going to have to upgrade your RAM. In order to upgrade your RAM, you're going to have to get better parts and newer parts. And we do that as humans through our daily habits, rituals, what we put in and consume in our body, whether it be water, food, music, TV, etc. And so integrating yourself into a physical body that can handle all these high frequencies is important. And so your lifestyle starts to change, because you want to be able to utilize this gift to help bring about this incredible unified vision. And ultimately, it's about really, what do you want to do with this gift? This gift is clearly given to, it's an individual's gift. We all can access it, or there might be ways we all can access it. But just like you got a brand new Mac, you can use that to watch porn on it, or you can code the next life-saving app out there, or write the most incredible book, or create the most beautiful Photoshop, right? So what is the use of it? And Obviously, or maybe not, you might not know, but if you abuse the privilege, like you go to a porn site, you're going to download some malware, and that malware is going to disrupt, distract, and deter your ability to utilize the full capacity of your gifts, until or unless you realize it. And then you got to go like get rid of all that malware, which means doing what's called tapas. And so, I'll conclude this, as it encapsulates my honestly my journey up until this point, which is beautiful, is that everyone is on their own ascension process. There's the collective consciousness, which is the aggregate sum of the ascension process. And what's happening is we've hit a tipping point where more and more people are becoming aware and awake. And if you want to stay in a limited, non-upgrading operating software, if you love your Windows 98, if you still do dial-up and you love it, then I love you for that, and that's great. If you wish to reject all this information, you're free to do so. We all have our own realities. We all cause our own reality. But if you want to have the most powerful operating software that helps you understand and explore how to truly be a game changer and make an impact on where the future is going, and explore your fullest potential, if you want to get to that level of incredible fulfillment, or if you just simply want to be able to understand reality, and have a model that actually explains it all, then I encourage you to explore this path, right? And this path takes various levels and tiers, and you can take as much time on those tiers as you want. You can stay there. This is my journey. I started from the lowest tier of being specifically on the accounting side of life, the logical side of life, and it's a beautiful grounding to do that, because then I'm able to use logic, the scientific method, skepticism, research, to build a solid foundation and framework to elevate through all the different levels of reality, to be able to upgrade my software with a strong foundation and knowing why and how that's possible. There's lots of trends that are coming out, utilizing certain external things to impact your psychological state, which in a future discussion, might be for some other people to talk about the ethics of that. But what I'm sharing is my journey and my ability to access these things. I have definitely explored in a very unique way, and have much respect and love for my journey and for your journey as well. And so in these future episodes, what I am intending to do is share some of these very beautiful cosmic wisdom and truths that have come through, that I feel resonate so profoundly from where I'm at. And my goal is to deliver it in a way that's grounded, because that is really the mission here, is to help all those, no matter what level they are in their operating software, if they so desire, to elevate and put in the work to do so, because that's where I was, not even understanding what emotion was, and now channeling Kalaberva and accessing the Akashic Record and understanding it and being able to explain it logically, because there is a change that is coming. It's happening. We can see it. We can feel it. I mean, simply put, millennials are requesting different things in the work environment than previous baby boomers. Is the lowest form state. The other one is look at the UN's SDGs, as well as the specific trends that are happening on the consumer side in terms of what we're demanding in terms of our food we eat, how it's grown, what kind of food we eat, to the values that the companies we support and buy from stand for, to more global issues. And of course, there's a lot of political manipulation and stuff, and I can go into that, but it's really not important, because that simply just gives them more power. So the main point is, I'm sharing with you my journey. It was intensely a personal journey that has been that couldn't have been done alone, which is kind of a catch-22. Um, there are some incredible supporters that I wish to thank, including my family and all those who, during the process and continue to be in the process, although not anymore, but in the past, in that healing process, there are a lot of things that just gross stuff that's got to get out, shadow work and things like that. And there are people who stood there in their power and let me just reveal the darkest of the dark. And I really appreciate you for that. Um, some incredible tutors and mentors, Guru, obviously, incredible love for him, as well as my parents, my mother, my father, my sister, my girlfriend, and incredible members of Nityananda Sangha, um, as well as incredible members from the Quantified Self movement and from Silicon Valley, and those who are going on their own journey. So, before the tears come flowing, I just want to thank you all. And, at the end of this video, I declare I am caught up on my journey. It is documented, recorded, and I get to explore incredible things with you. This content really creates a foundation for deeper dives, but that might be in the form of a book or something. No promises, but something that's a little more well thought out, but at the same time, this provides enough of a scaffolding to get there. And I look forward to sharing some cosmic truths and wisdom that's come through, and go from there. Awesome. Thank you all. And thank you, Swamiji, and Jesus, and Mom, and everyone. All right, love you.